Today's August 1st. The Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primaries are in January, and we haven't even had the first debate yet in the Republican nominating process. But by the looks of things, and certainly by the New York Times standard, it's over. And I don't know about you, but as a good conservative Republican, I always follow the lead of the New York Times. Here's their latest poll. Trump at 54%, DeSantis at 17%. Of course, that's a national poll, and I don't know, last time I checked, we don't pick our candidates with a national election. It's state by state. But to be fair, he is doing very well, Donald Trump is, in Iowa and in New Hampshire. But maybe it's a little too soon to call this one. Let's find out from our friend Chris Stigall. He's the host of the Chris Stigall podcast, found everywhere you get your podcasts. All right, Chris, is it over?
Well, first of all, why the hostility to Donald Trump? I detect hostility directed at Donald. I'm
no,
kidding.
The hostility is toward the New York Times.
That's a joke. I'm kidding. Everyone's prickly when we start talking about this.
Yes,
I know.
unless you say it is over, you're anti-Trump. In fact, I might as well get my captainship on. I'm ahoy, right?
Well, that's right. Let me just say this, and I know you share my sentiments. I'll vote for Asa Hutchinson sooner than I'll vote for Joe Biden.
Amen.
All right?
Absolutely. I have Asa fever.
Yeah, who doesn't? But he's a pain in the Asa. But I will say this. Do I think that all of them have a steep hill to climb, to put it mildly, to defeat Donald Trump? I do.
Yeah.
I'm also very honest with my audience anyway, and I know you are too, that it does seem that the media is probably banking on Donald Trump being the most easy to beat. I actually think they're most frightened of the prospect of a DeSantis presidency, if I were to be wholly honest with you. I think they think Trump's a more beatable candidate in the general. I think a DeSantis presidency scares them a little more. I think they think him to be a more doctrinaire conservative, perhaps, than even Trump.
Maybe. I also think Donald Trump it tends to divide people more, and the media and the left, they sort of like that. They want us divided. They don't want us to unify around ideas and around our common principles. I think you're right about that. I mean, yes, absolutely, it's Donald Trump's race to lose. It has been since day one. Are you surprised that the challengers, specifically Ron DeSantis, they haven't really made the case of why they're the better choice? It seems like such a simple question. You know, yes, I like Donald Trump. Yes, I liked his policies, but here's why I'm the better choice this time around. That's the only question they need to answer, and they haven't been able to do it.
Yeah, and DeSantis seems like he's tried going the social issues route, and I've been fascinated with it because I've actually seen focus groups on this, and I've talked with some people inside Team DeSantis. I've seen this with my own eyes. It's remarkable. You go to a group of Trump voters, and you ask them about the trans issue, for instance, the LGBTQ agenda in public schools, for instance, and you say, what specifically has Donald Trump done to tackle this as president? And strident Trump supporters don't quite know what to say about that. They assume he's against it. They believe he's against it. And yeah, he's probably said since that he's against it, but DeSantis has actually the track record. Now, I want to be clear here with your audience, just so I don't tick people off and you don't get hate mail. I've already gone on the record as saying if I'm voting in the primary, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Having said that, I have to defer to DeSantis and give him credit. He owns the lane of the social issues for the most part, save abortion. Yeah. There is one. And it's interesting, DeSantis is taking on water this week from pro-lifers who say he won't commit to this national abortion ban the way Trump has. So there's a conflict there on the social issues front. Trump owns a lane. DeSantis owns a lane. They both can credibly argue that. Yeah. I don't know who wins that. It's sort of a jump ball to me.
The fact that President Trump is not going to participate in the debate later this month, as of now, he might change his mind, and maybe even a couple of other debates, that means that really the race is who's going to be the man left standing, or woman, to take on Trump head on. How do you think that, set Trump aside, what's the rest of the field look like? Because as of now, DeSantis is really fading back into the pack.
Yeah, I don't know who even comes closer to, well, that's not true. I've noticed that the DeSantis people are taking swipes at Ramaswamy now. And that tells me that Ramaswamy is starting to gain traction. I'll give you an anecdote. My sons, who will both be of legal age to vote for the first time when the primary comes around to them, they're very enthusiastic about Vivek. You might also note that there was a a study that just came out, I think, in The Hill and a couple of other places this week, that young men, just my son's age, are starting to trend more conservative than ever before.
Oh, yes, I saw that. With keen interest. We have a son, the son's the same age, actually. We don't have a son together. I don't want anyone to have a misconception
That would
of
affect
that.
the social issues.
Yeah, exactly. That is interesting, and I think that Vivek is an important voice for the younger Republican men in particular.
And that's threatening to DeSantis. That's bad news for DeSantis. A lot of people are wondering who might Trump align himself with. And Vivek, you could argue, has been made, he won't say it this way, but when I've talked to them about, after he was indicted by Jack Smith, Vivek ran down to Miami and stood out inside the courtroom and said, "This is an injustice. I want everybody to stay." It's like Vivek is almost auditioning. You get the sense,
right?
Almost auditioning for the number 2 slot.
But I think that's a good way to go. If you're running for the Republican primary right now against Donald Trump, the only way to run is to be as pro-Trump as possible and then fight, say, yes, I like this, I like this, I like this, and yes, there's injustice against the man, but when all is said and done, here's why I'm the better choice. It's a tough one. We've never seen a race like this before where candidates have to make that case.
Yeah, I just interviewed Steve Moore today, who, in full disclosure, has signed on officially with the Trump team as well, but I said, here's DeSantis' economic plan. He just rolled out with this yesterday. He's going to tariffs on China. He's going to reduce spending. He's going to lower taxes. And Steve said, yeah, I mean, the spending part is obviously not Trump's bailiwick, but on taxes, on regulations, on China, Steve's point was, yeah, but my guy's already doing that.
Yeah.
So even that's tough for DeSantis to stand out.
Oh, on yesterday's program, we had DeSantis' chief policy guy on to talk about the economic plan, and I asked 3 different ways. How exactly is this different than what President Trump's economic policy was when he was president? And I couldn't tell you what the answer was, frankly.
I feel sorry for these people. I really, earnestly, I like Governor DeSantis a lot. I'd be an enthusiastic backer of his if he won.
Yeah.
I just don't, from the very beginning, I don't know how any of these people stand a prayer. The media does nothing but talk about Donald Trump. Every day they sit down for, Jake Tapper's big sit down with Ron DeSantis was on the same day he's indicted.
Right.
And it's like, the poor guy can't catch a break.
Chris, let me ask you, started by saying the conventional wisdom is that Trump wins the primary, and that's good for Democrats because he's more vulnerable in the general election. Is that still the case? I mean, one argument the Biden team made, certainly in 2020, is Trump fatigue. They don't want to worry about the scandals anymore and the drama and the divisions and everything. Well, look at that drama with the Biden family and with the scandals there and the march toward impeachment. I mean, that sort of takes that off the table, doesn't it?
I would sure think so. I ask that kind of rhetorically all the time. The Democrats believe that Donald Trump belongs in an orange jumpsuit. Those of us who are watching the news and reporting on it and talking about it honestly know the Bidens belong in orange jumpsuits. Mm-hmm. So it seems we're at an impasse. And if, in fact, this is where we're going, we're watching 2 men, both of whom supporters believe the other belongs in a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we've ever seen anything quite like this before. But I think, Will Hurd, that scumbag congressman, Republican from Texas, said that Trump is running to stay out of prison. Well, I think you could probably say the same thing about the family Biden.
And I would argue the closest we've come, you just said, maybe rhetorically, we haven't seen this before. The closest we came was in 2016. And, Trump emerged victorious. To that end, in fact, in our final minute here, Chris Stigall, do you think Biden even makes it to the general election next year? Because I'm starting to hear more and more people raising that doubt very seriously, and not just because of his age.
I could totally entertain him not making it. What I don't really go for is this notion that in steps Gavin Newsom. I don't know how, if Biden doesn't make it, I don't know how it can be anybody but Kamala Harris. Larry Elder said it well some time ago. Black Democrats would never allow the first black woman to be passed over for a white guy from California. There's just no way in the world, and I tend to agree with him. Democrats want Kamala Harris over Joe Biden?
I think you're going down the right trail, but according to our guest earlier tonight, Michael Caputo, who is an advisor to Donald Trump, he thinks the answer is going to be Michelle Obama at the end of the day. That's the only person who could maybe circumvent Kamala Harris. We'll leave it there. Chris Stigall, always good to touch base with you. Check him out at the Chris Stigall podcast, everywhere you cast your pod. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.